Hi, and welcome to the NCCC Compliance Project. Hi, Sue. It looks like you probably are the only one right now. Today's 30-minute mentor session is actually how to make Word documents compliant. We have the chat box that's open for anyone coming into the session right now. So if you actually want to ask any questions at any point in time, go ahead and type in your question, and Donna, Simiel, and I will try to answer your questions the best we can at this point. And I gotta move a box here. Sorry, I have a lot of boxes open right now, so I'm kind of jumping around. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up regarding what we're going to be offering, between now and the end of November, these are all of the sessions that we're going to be offering every single Monday at noon. We will provide a recording for each of these sessions. So please feel free to take part in any of these sessions at any point in time during those 30 minutes. And they'll actually be 30 minutes or under, but 30 minutes is definitely our max that we're looking to go. So just to get started here, Microsoft Word provides us with the whole concept of having a universal design. So here, this Word accessibility checker is located in Microsoft Word, and it's going to allow everyone to look and point out some of the issues that are going on within Word that don't make our documents accessible. And what I mean accessible is that a lot of times we tend to point the finger at the visually impaired and those that are hearing impaired, but this also, with this universal design, will allow us to provide additional tools for students that actually might be better with just listening to documents, so that they have other options that they could actually use within a course. To give you an idea with this Word accessibility checker, it's actually provided in Word, Excel, and in PowerPoint also. So it's going to point out, like I said, the problems with different documents found within Microsoft Word is kind of what we're looking at today. But here, the checker can be found if you go to your file and then info. And then if you go into the inspect document, check accessibility will run it for you, and it will actually pinpoint any issues that you have within Microsoft Word. So it'll tell you if you use too many spaces, if you use too many bars. It'll point out things regarding fonts, I believe, but I also created a bit of a document at the end I can show you if we have time, to show you exactly what this accessibility can actually checker will pick up. It'll tell you whether you need alt text in certain areas. So it does pick up on a lot of different little aspects. And Donna, feel free to jump in at any point if you want to add in anything here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like, a tab should be used instead of 5 spaces. That would be something that would pick up. If you have pictures in a document and you don't have the alt text on the pictures, it would pull up something like that as a checker item. So, and it will, the nice thing about it is it will give you a screen split on the right-hand side, and you can actually click on where it says there's a problem, and it will jump to that spot in your document as well. So it makes it real easy to go in and fix the mistakes.
Yeah, it is a really neat tool to actually use. I never even knew it existed in Microsoft Word. So it helps to kind of review things really quick. So now we're going to kind of move on to the next things that this accessibility checker can actually pick up on, or things that we're going to actually review today. So we're going to move ahead here. One of the first things here is fonts and sizes. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable right now at this point in time. The things that are acceptable are font. A minimum of a 12-point font is what we're actually looking for. Some of the fonts that you can actually use that are acceptable is Arial, Tahoma, Calibri. The typical Times New Roman that is usually and has been a lot of a go-to for people is something that is no longer acceptable with this whole compliance project. So that's one thing you want to stay away from. So those things on the left-hand side are things that we can work with, and things that the Microsoft checker will actually pick up for you also. Regarding the fonts and sizes also, your fonts here you'll see on the left-hand side in the green acceptable versus not acceptable. You have to remember that those that are colorblind would not be able to pick up between the green acceptable and the right not acceptable. So you want to stay away from using green and red within any type of document. The other thing is to also keep in mind is using bold. Bold is actually considered a visual color. So you need to remember that a screen reader doesn't tell you color. A screen reader will not tell you what bold is. So key things that you need to remember is that what you want students to know, you need to put it in words. So for example, if a student was colorblind, they wouldn't be able to distinguish between these two headings. This would mean absolutely nothing for them. Okay, so just remember that important information shouldn't be communicated by color alone. And in this next slide, this is something Donna put together here to show you that what it would actually look like to a student that is colorblind. Or if somebody was to actually print out this document, this is how the document would actually come up. Another thing here to remember too is that you can't say what's acceptable is in green, in that green column, and what's not acceptable is in a red column. So that's another thing you can't use in your online classes because it's not communicating to those students that have issues with color. It's not going to communicate that correct information for them. So like I said, make sure you actually use your words for that. Anything else here, Donna, you'd like to add?
One of the things I would point out is when you highlight text in different colors, what you think is going to print out and accent it, you can see it actually shows up in lighter grays for those headings. So, I mean, this one would be okay because you're actually telling them something is acceptable and something that is not acceptable,
Yeah.
as opposed to just saying, you know, what is acceptable is in red and what's not is in green. So that's the big thing. And I recommend that anybody print out a document in a black and white. So that way, if a student is colorblind, you can see what they're going to see when they print. So, or if they just don't have a color printer and they need to print it out. And you can see it's a lighter gray in a lot of colors. So, okay.
Yeah. So just kind of a brief summary here with the colors and accents. Key things to remember is don't use red and green on the same page because those colorblind students cannot distinguish between those colors. Avoid blue text because obviously we know that oftentimes those are used for links. Avoid underlining unless you're actually going to use a link. And if using a color to accent text, also use bold because, like I said earlier, remember that bold is actually considered a visual color. And then Donna already mentioned this, always print out a document in black and white to see if accents and colors actually would lose their meaning. The next thing that we're going to look at is the tabs and spaces. One thing you want to always focus on is actually using tabs to indent text instead of actually spacing, because what happens here is that some screeners will actually read each single space. If you're using your tab bar for your spaces, if you hit that tab bar 20, 30 times to actually create a space that you want, a screen reader will actually go in there, or at least some of them will actually go in there, and it will count every single tap that you made on your space bar. So it will actually read space, 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 space 20, 30, 40 times, however many times you actually used it. So if you use the tab instead of your spaces, it's going to actually take care of that for you.
Okay, and hitting enter, some screen readers, if you leave a lot of blank lines in your text, it will stop the screen reader from reading the rest of the text. So they recommend using line spacing as opposed to hitting enter a couple of times to leave blank lines. So that's what the spacing is talking about. Okay.
This is one thing we've come across a lot with people having questions with is using the styles and headings to accent your titles. In the end, this is such a great tool to use because it does actually make your life a lot easier, because the styles will allow for consistency within all of your documents. You can go in and save your styles and your headings to actually, you can use it as your own default. You can create it as your own default, and then whatever new documents you come in and create, everything is going to be consistent with your headings and your titles. So it really is a nice tool to use. You want to make sure that you identify the headings and subheadings in your documents. And the headings can actually be picked up by screen readers. What happens here is that they actually have certain software programs to do this, and allows those students to actually scan a document. Similar to a student in a classroom when you give them that first day handout and they scanned a document for the attendance policy or how you're going to do your grades, and they're looking for those specific headings. This is exactly what happens when you're using your titles. So you want to be consistent with using your titles here where it says titles. You could actually use that heading for it. And then when you go down when you're creating your document, you would go in and create your heading number 1. That could be your grades. Heading number 2 could be your attendance policy. Heading number 3 could be research projects, and so on. So you just keep creating those headings, and then everything in the end, you can actually go back and just click on that heading within your styles, and it just makes it so much easier to actually clean up those documents. And again, I have a sample I can show you towards the end of the session if we actually have some time.
Okay.
Images and hyperlinks, another thing with images, with the alt text is another concern, because in the past we always use the big long URL. So that's definitely a thing of the past. You want to provide the alt text, which actually stands for alternative text, for all images and tables. So here we're looking at anything that requires pictures, charts, links, diagrams, anything like that. You have to provide that alt text. Key thing to remember with the text descriptions is that the screen reader needs to tell students what the image represents. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind when you're actually giving that description of your image, and that varies from course to course and picture to picture. One thing you want to remember is that Blackboard does not have the alt text option for tables. So when you're going to do an alt text for tables, you have to create that document in that table in Microsoft Word so that you can actually apply the alt text to that. Within hyperlinks, you can provide the URL in a description to help those who actually print out documents. I've seen that actually happen, because if the student prints out their documents and you only have the brief description for the URL, it doesn't allow them to have that on a document itself. So there's nothing wrong with providing both of those. Like I said, you want to make sure you include that clear description, and stay away of using the long URL for your description, because a screen reader would actually spell out the whole URL. So that's one issue that would be, students would have that problem. So let's say, for instance, instead of using niagaracc.suny.edu, you can actually use for your description Niagara County Community College. And then when the students click on that, it would take them right to that. And then the other thing is, we've seen in certain courses, and I'm guilty of this also, is using the old click here
I'm in a
to
webinar. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's all right.
to actually take them to a link. So because whereas here is not helpful for students. So you want to stay away from using that old click here. To give you an idea of what the adding the alt text and how to do that, for images and for tables, it's a little bit different, but in the end, the description and that information is very similar. So you would actually right-click on the image itself that you want to describe. And the thing is, if you're using, I know I've seen this question come up in a few other sessions that I've seen online, is that some people like to use images as just a decorative purpose. So what you would actually include there, you still have to have an alt tag on that if you want to have a little bit of bling in your course and make it look nice. You actually want to give that picture a description. Just use something like a decorative image and let the student know so that the screen reader can tell them what that picture is. That is just there for basically for looks. So here, to actually add your alt text to a picture, you would right click on the image and then you would click format the picture, go to layout and properties, and then the alt text. You can see there where the red arrow is pointing to the alt text. Once you open that box, it gives you two areas, the area for the title and the area for the description. We'll see this in the next slide also for the tables. Just a note to remember here is that some readers will actually skip titles or descriptions. So just to be safe, it's probably best to include something in the title and the description. So going to the next slide, you'll see here it gives you a better view with the title and description. And these are the steps that you would actually use for a table. Just a little bit different in terms of where you go, but basically the same concept for tables and for pictures. One thing to remember also with screen readers is that you want to keep away from using text boxes to access text, because screen readers will often skip those text boxes. You can actually create a table, a one box table. If you really want to use a text box, you have to create that one text box table, and you can use that as a text box. But don't go into the Microsoft Word and use the text box feature they offer, because a screen reader probably won't pick up on that. And the next thing here with the file format is the preferred format is actually the PDF format. You can use Microsoft Word, you can use PDF. I've also seen people use RTFs, but the safest one to go with, and the one that is the easiest probably to use for students, is actually providing them with a PDF. One of the key features here to remember with the PDFs is that once you bring that PDF into Blackboard, it would allow those students to print out those documents. One of Donna's golden rules, I guess I can call it, is that anything, every time she'll say this, is anything you want your students to print out, provide it in a PDF, because it just makes it so much easier for them to actually print those documents out. The other thing is to remember with the PDF documents is that once it's saved in the PDF, you have it in your course. For those students that need to actually have a document read to them, there's a feature right in there when they have that PDF that allows them to go in and read aloud that document. And again, I can show you that towards the end. So that's a nice little feature for them to have. All they have to do is go to view and read aloud within that PDF document, and the whole document will be read to them. So it's a nice feature to play around if ever you have a chance with this. And again, it'll show you, as you're listening to it, you can actually see how this whole reader jumps through things. The only area where I've seen things with the PDF and some issues is obviously if you want students to, or you're expecting students to share, edit any kind of document, then a Word document would actually have to be used, because you can't, once the PDF is in your course, you can't edit that document, or students don't have the option to edit that document. Recommended format, like we said, PDF. Big key feature here, it allows them to print, because in Blackboard you don't have that ability to print. So again, just remember, if you want those students to print out documents, that PDF is the way to go. Did you want to add anything to that?
You can give them Word documents and then give them an attachment of a PDF. And another main reason is because not everybody has Microsoft Office. So there's more chance that they will actually be able to open up, read, and print a PDF than they would Microsoft Word. So that's another reason why.
Okay. Yeah. And finally here we have some resources that you can actually go to. The Faculty Resource Center, accessibility statements for the party content. SUNY Fact2 has some great information for accessibility website, and Buff State has some great resources that I've actually looked at also, and they're extremely helpful with their information. And then the last one is that Portland Community College. So these are some good areas to go to get some extra information that could possibly help you out with some questions that maybe we didn't answer today.
Okay. I'm also going to include with the recording the PowerPoint of this, so anybody could use these links to access the information so that you don't need to write down these URLs.
Oh, good. And finally, last thing is that, if you have any questions, if you want to sit one-on-one, you can either call me or call Donna or call Lisa, and we could definitely help you out with any of the questions or any questions you may have from today's session or any other parts of, your course that you're actually working on to help things, become compliant. And we'll go from there. But like I said, all the other sessions that we're going to be offering should definitely answer some questions that you may have. And Donna, do you have anything else you want to
I would just say, since you have some documents up, it might be a good idea to show them the accessibility checker in Word, since we have a few extra minutes.
Yep, definitely. I'm just going to share that. This is just, this is very brief, but just to kind of show you what the styles that I actually used here and created my course title. What's really nice about this is I created the course title, and then if you do a right click on that and then you click that modify, you can actually save this as your default. So here I used Arial, which is the right font. I used a 22. You want to make sure it's 12 and above. And then if you go down here and you do automatically update and you click on the new documents based on this template and click OK, anytime you go in here, this is what it's going to be saved as. So any new documents that you create will make it that much easier for you for consistency that we were talking about earlier. And then same thing here, if I click, you'll see I click on the grading, you'll see heading 1, projects heading 2, which are nice features. Now to show you how the accessibility would actually work, so you go to your accessibility and then inspect your document and check accessibility. And well, obviously this document, I have no accessibility issues found. So this is where it shows you right here, people with disabilities should not have difficulty reading this document. However, if I go down here, let's say I tabbed over and on that one issue I was talking about with all the space issues, I'm hitting my tab, and then I'm going to run this document again, check accessibility. You'll see right here, I got a warning. And the warning's telling me that I repeated blank characters 19 times. If I click on that 19 characters, it shows me exactly where I have all those extra spaces. So it's kind of nice. It takes you right to it, and then you can actually get rid of that. And I can, whoop, and then tab over. And then again, it's telling me 7 characters. So again, it's showing me everything that's actually going on here. So same thing, it would pick up on any of those issues that we talked about today during this presentation that may actually creep up. So it gives you a really good little summary. Donna, anything there?
Also on the bottom right-hand corner of that bar on the right-hand side, it will tell you how to fix it and why it's a problem to like screen readers and stuff. So that's a nice option at the bottom to give you an idea. Okay.
And then the last thing I'll just, since we have a minute here, I'm just going to show you the, share with you. Oh, come on.
I think you were in it. Go back.
Yeah. Are you seeing the PDF there?
Yep.
Okay. With this PDF, so I saved that exact same Word document, everything. I cleaned up my document. Let's say I cleaned up my document, everything's perfect. I save it as my PDF. And what's nice here is that for students, once they have it there as a PDF, all they have to do is go to View, Read Out Loud, and then if I click on this, Read this page only, my documents actually, you can actually hear it now. It'll actually start reading to you. And it could actually read those I'm just going to stop this here. It'll read the document to the student. So for a student that actually would rather have something read to them, or if they're having problems reading something, they can actually use this feature also. So that universal design concept really does come into play here also with this little feature that they offer with the PDFs.
Okay. And I recommend that if you have a document that they're going to be downloading, like a table or, maybe your course expectations or something like that, I would have you go through and listen to how it's read, because I think you would be surprised at something that you think is very obvious on the screen is not read very well, is accented and stuff. So it's a good screen reader to look at it and see if it's giving it what you need it to do.
Yeah, I noticed that with the tables, it can jump around sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully everybody will get a chance to look at our resources, and we'll put the recording and the PowerPoints out on our website so everybody will have access to them.
Okay, and that completes our session for today. Right on time. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.